Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Greater Freedom podcast. I am very excited to be joined by a wonderful guest today, Sophie, who is a human design guide and teacher. Now, Sophie and I have been connected on Instagram for a little while now, and we actually met up in Porto relatively recently when we both happened to be there. So it's so nice to have met you in person, to now have you on my podcast, and I can't wait to dive in over the next 30 minutes or so into your journey into becoming the business owner that you are now, the lifestyle that you have, and to hear more about the work that it is that you do with human design. So without further ado, please introduce yourself and let us know a little bit more detail as to what the business looks like, how you help the clients that you work with, and what led you to doing what it is that you do now.
Hi, Nicola. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to talk about this topic. It's something that is very important to me, freedom. So I am a human design guide and teacher, and I guide people towards greater self-belief, expansion, magnetism in their life. But then mostly I work with business owners around how they can really embrace their unique energy, their unique strategy to create the success, the expansion, the magnetism that they really desire. And, at the core of what I do is that finding your own strategy and connecting with that, the way you're here to move through the world, your gifts, your skills, that is what's really going to create success for you, instead of trying to be someone that you're not, or maybe copying other people online, which is just like a natural thing to do. If you see someone being successful, you're like, oh, I'll try that. And human design is actually telling you, like, this is what's going to work for you. And obviously it's still an experimentation process. But that's really what I do with business owners, is really helping them reconnect with themselves, their energy, their uniqueness, and that's the stuff that's so attractive. And so I really love doing that. I also teach other business owners or aspiring business owners human design, so they can integrate that within their coaching, their healing, their business, essentially what they do, so they can really understand their clients' energy, and some people to become purely a human design reader as well, which is really exciting. And
amazing.
I love that. I really, really love the work that I do. And the freedom that it allows me.
And I guess there's two questions. I'm very curious about human design. It's something that I think I became introduced to it initially maybe a year or 2 years ago now. And it's something that I've kind of loosely followed in accordance to my design type, and then trying to implement it more into my business and also my lifestyle. But for people that are maybe less familiar with human design, in layman's terms, would you be able to give a bit of an explanation as to what it is, and also why it's so potent when incorporated into your business, and how you run your business in terms of the energetics and the sort of strategies that you might be using?
Yeah, I mean, when you first discover human design, there's elements of it you're like, oh my God, this is me. But then you're like, what the hell does it all mean? So human design, from my perspective, is really the story of your energy and how you're here to thrive. So it's a system that essentially shows you your body graph, which is your design. So it shows you your gifts, your skills. And I mean, the fundamentals of human design are that it tells you your energy type, which if you think about like astrology, it's kind of like your entry point to human design, like your sun sign. It's your aura, it's how you're here to exchange energy. And then human design, you have your strategy and authority, which is your decision-making tool. So essentially, human design is all about decisions, all about how you move through life. And it tells you the way that you're here to do that, basically. And life is kind of all about decisions. And human design is like, well, you can eliminate resistance and roadblocks and all the messiness. Well, there's still going to be some messiness, in life, but you can experience much more flow and ease. And in human design, there's something called your signature, which is essentially what you feel when you're in alignment. So human design is essentially showing you how you're here to thrive, and also giving you tips around how to know when you're not thriving, actually, because you're going to feel your not self, which both of us are generators. So just in case people want to know, there's 5 different energy types in human design, and Nicola and I are both generators. And when we're out of alignment, we will feel frustration, and when we're in alignment, we'll feel satisfaction. So there's like elements to it, but if I were to break it down really simply, it's human design is a guidebook, or like a blueprint to how you're here to thrive, and it's a decision-making tool, and it shows you your gifts, your skills. It also shows you your limitations and what you're really here to work through in this lifetime, and what you're not. And is a really powerful tool for business. For life, it's absolutely like so powerful. It's also so great for business and understanding, you know, how to do it, like how to run business, how to show up. And I know it's transformed a lot of people's businesses by embracing it.
I think it's really important as well for people listening, the words that you use of guide, because it's not a black and white rule book or set of instructions for you to follow. Because as you mentioned at the beginning, it's sort of, some of it will resonate and some of it might not. And it's there to be used as a guide so that when you are feeling out of alignment or frustrated or overwhelmed, you can turn to your energy type to maybe find a way or a route that does feel slightly easier. And I know when I was learning about it and my intention was to incorporate more into my business, was it suddenly felt quite uncomfortable because I was seeing things that were out of alignment with my design that I was doing due to conditioning, to societal norms, to working in a 9 to 5 where there was one way of doing things and that was the version of success. And then as soon as you become familiar with your design type and you think, gosh, I've been doing something this way all along, but maybe if I embraced my design and followed my energy, then it could actually open up greater flow and freedom. But it feels uncomfortable to do that because we're not familiar with doing it that way. So there's such a big element of trust, I think, as well, in trusting that there can be an easier way, trusting that you can open up to more abundance, trusting that it doesn't have to be hard. And that's where I think leaning into your design type can be really, really powerful, because it's almost that reassurance in a weird way that you've got permission to do things in a different way.
Yeah, it really is a permission slip to do things your way. And it is uncomfortable at first because you realize, like you said, how conditioned, or I guess like in the program you are around like what you should be doing, you know, what makes sense, maybe what, you know, you've learned from your parents, society, school, that like makes up a good life or would make you happy. And then suddenly you're like, oh, that's not what actually makes me happy. That's what I think will make me happy. And a big thing about human design is really understanding that your mind is not the thing that makes the decisions for you. Your mind's this brilliant place where you can bounce around perspectives and ideas and thoughts, but it's not the decision-making tool. And it's actually not a decision-making tool for anybody in human design. Like nobody on earth is meant to make decisions with their mind. So what you said there really is a deconditioning process, and it can be uncomfortable. And it's a process. Like I still make mistakes with my design. Like I still come up against frustration, and that's just it's a way of life. Sometimes I'll be frustrated and then I'll review and I'll be like, okay, how am I using my energy? But I'm a big believer, like you said, in don't let it take over your life. Like I teach it and it's at the core of all the work that I do, but I don't let it limit me around like, oh, let me just, check my design or whatever. It's like, no, you still need to live your life and you're going to make mistakes. And I don't beat yourself up for it, experiment and play with it. That's a big thing for me.
And one thing I guess you mentioned particularly is it is super helpful when you do have your own business and as a business owner using your design to help your business thrive. So on the topic of the podcast, freedom, how has following your design type enabled you to open up to greater freedom in your life, but also with your business?
I love that question. And last year I started my business in like late 2020, but I've changed it a lot since then. I wasn't doing human design then. And then late last year in 2021, I was like, you know what, things just aren't working for me. I'm still kind of trying to do things other people's way. So I just decided to go fully in. I'm going to embrace my design, the way I show up, the way I communicate, and decided to just throw out all the rules. And what happened then was I actually started making like really consistent income. And because my goal was to move abroad, because that for me, freedom is like freedom of location, being able to go wherever I want. I love travel. I love being in hot, sunny countries. That was something that I really wanted. But I felt a little bit trapped in my business before then because I wasn't making the consistent income that I wanted. So actually embracing my design and showing up in the way that I desired to, and the way that was correct for me, even though it was a bit uncomfortable at first because it was very much against what I was hearing from lots of marketing and business mentors and coaches who say that you have to do X, Y, and Z to be successful. I was like, I just need to put the blinkers on now and like mute anybody who is kind of, because I have got some in human design, wherever you're open, you're more susceptible to conditioning. So like I'm open in certain areas where like I take on other people's opinions and beliefs as my own sometimes. And so I'm taking on these beliefs that the only way you're going to be successful is if you speak on your stories every day and that kind of stuff. And so I had to really like decondition from that. And so in doing that and embracing my strategy and my generator, my profile, I started to make consistent income, and then it enabled me to move abroad. And ever since I've moved, actually, and this is another part of my design, is I have a certain energy within my design which shows me that if I'm in the right environment, I'll thrive. If I'm in the wrong environment, it's actually really hard for me to thrive. And ever since moving, it's like amplified, actually. And I know that for myself, I feel healthy in certain environments, and that enables me to actually gain more success in my business. So it's all different for everybody, but it really did, financially, also in terms of the types of people that I work with. I'm like really tapped into that now of like what feels good, and I will say no, like if something doesn't feel good. So yeah, I mean, many ways my design
I think I've got that in my sort of design as well. I had a reading done probably 6 or so months, maybe 4 or 5 months ago, and there was a specific section that said you thrive when you're in environments that are sort of aesthetically and visually appealing to you, and you also feel drained when you're in locations that aren't. And it also mentioned that travel is something that gives you so much energy and that you love. And I just thought, I know that already. That's great to have the confirmation, and I'll use that as my excuse to keep on traveling. But yeah, one thing that you mentioned there is that element of boundaries, having boundaries in place that are there to protect your energy, but also there to ensure that the level of freedom that you desire isn't neglected. So are there other strategies or tools or routines that you have in place to help you protect the freedom? So for context, for people who aren't following Sophie on Instagram, she's currently in Mexico, and obviously we met in Porto and you spent time in Europe. So traveling around, to me, I know can be tiring. It can be sort of draining on your energy depending on the way that you're doing it. So I'd be interested to know, for someone who does have a lifestyle like yours, how you protect that element of freedom, and what that looks like kind of from a routine point of view as well.
Yeah, this is something I've learned a lot, because I was in Mexico for the first chunk of the year and found a routine that really worked for me. I was mentioning this just before we started recording, actually, that I really thrive in the mornings. Like I'm very much like for client calls, I'm a morning person. Like I'm a morning to lunchtime. Anything after that, I just tend to really crave just being outside or just doing something else. I like to just have a set chunk of time, and then maybe if I feel like doing some work in the evening, if inspiration hits, I do that. But when I was in Europe, my routine was really off. And it's really interesting about human design, because some people thrive with routine and some people don't, but there's a lot of messaging that you need routine, or there's messaging that be more intuitive and flowy with your day. Whereas I'm like, no, I need routine for the work that I do, because it supports me and actually helps me be more flowy with the rest of my time. So I really learned a big lesson in terms of that when I was in Europe, because my routine was all over the place. And so that's made me realize freedom for me is having a routine that supports me. Maybe that sounds a bit boring, like the time zone really matters, but it really matters to me. And so that's been a massive lesson, that freedom for me is having a time zone and a routine that really works for me and helps me thrive. I do not thrive when I work evenings. If it was like a one-off, I can be flexible, but ultimately I'm like, that is not something that works for me. And so I think freedom for me is routine. And I love being in beautiful places, but I love to enjoy them. I don't want to be inside all day and working, and then the frustration comes in, and I don't want to bring that into my client sessions. When I'm in my client sessions, I want to be like satisfied and like lit up and like so excited to be there and be like, okay, cool, let's have this session. Like, even if I'm not at that level, but like, I don't want to bring frustration into it. And so that's been a massive
resentment,
Yeah, because it's never about them, it's about me. I've decided to do this session at this time. Like it's on me. So I don't want to bring that in and project that, because it's not my client's fault that my routine's not suiting me. It's my fault. And that's a big thing about human design, personal responsibility. I think it's amazing for that, because you're like, I've done this. My frustration is at me, nobody else. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. I think, yeah, routine and a structure that really enables me to thrive helps me.
And that's a really nice example of the lifestyle element blending in with your business. So obviously that's something that I speak about a lot, is helping clients lead with lifestyle. So how can you ensure that the lifestyle that you desire, you're able to have alongside your thriving business? So this to me is a perfect example of you're nourishing your soul, you're protecting your energy, you're doing things that you love, whilst your business continues to be successful and grow. And would you say that human design has played a role in enabling that? And perhaps also for people who are thinking, okay, I need to get more familiar with my human design and begin to implement it. Like, would that be a good tool, do you think, to bring the lifestyle and the business closer together so that they are kind of coexisting, rather than the dream lifestyle being what feels like distance away, but the business is doing well, or vice versa?
Yeah, definitely, because I've wanted to travel and have this kind of lifestyle for years, but I guess I didn't really know how I could make it happen. And human design, embodying my design and really understanding my decision-making process, that everything that brought me to where I am today, living this lifestyle that I really enjoy, has been decision after decision. Like, I've had to make decisions about it and like sometimes take a leap, but trust is a big thing. And that's one thing I find human design does for people, is that it teaches you how to trust, even when you have no idea. It's like, you know, I've got emotional authority, which means that I have to make decisions based on how I feel, but how I feel when I've reached clarity with time, I don't know that I'm making the right decision, like when I do that, but I just have to trust, because it's worked out for me in the past. And I think that's something that human design, if you're feeling a bit stagnant or maybe stuck with your lifestyle, I think is an amazing tool for being like, well, maybe I need to get out of my own way and embrace my way of doing things. Because I feel, you know, a lot of times when people are feeling stuck, maybe they're living a life that they don't truly desire, but they don't know that something else is possible. They don't know how to get to what they desire. And I feel like human design is a great tool for how you can change your life, because it actually gives you like quite clear steps of how to do that, which I love.
I feel that would be a situation maybe where people are following someone else's version of success, you know, whether it's 10,000 followers on Instagram, whether it's 5-figure months, whether it's, you know, whatever it might be. Actually, if that's not in alignment with your version of success or your version of freedom, then you're going to get to that point and feel as unfulfilled as you were on the journey. And so taking that step back, and I think something that you said at the beginning of sort of putting the blinkers on and focusing on what it is that you want to create and what it is that you want to achieve, and then utilizing human design to guide you there in a way that, yes, might feel a little bit unnerving or a little bit unfamiliar, but knowing that ultimately it's a tool to empower you rather than to be afraid of. But if someone was interested in an initial look at an understanding of their human design, is that something that you offer? It'd be great to hear kind of how you help other business owners with their human design, depending on kind of what stage they're at and what they're looking for.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, you can get your free chart online from, there's lots of places. I really like mybodygraph.com, and that will give you, you know, it would tell you what your energy type is, your strategy, authority, that kind of stuff. But when you first look at it, you're like, holy, this is all these numbers and things. And something I really love to do is simplify it. So if you're just firstly getting into it, look at your chart and just, you know, let yourself be a bit confused by it. Don't feel like you need to figure it all out. But then, yes, I do offer, so if you just want a personal reading, you're not at the stage where maybe you want your business reading, but you maybe just want to understand your energy more, how you're here to thrive, make decisions, move through life, I do offer like a 60-minute personal reading. And that's when we really dive into your strategy. And I tend to always ask people, is there an element of your life that you really want some like guidance and direction with? And it tends to, I'm noticing a theme at the moment, is that it's mostly career or relationships. Actually, I like looking at like the data of my readings. I like geeking out on it. And then I do business activation sessions, which in 90 minutes we're like really diving into your strategy. So it's a reading, but it's also like supercharged in terms of like, what's your business problem, what's the challenge? And often people end up coming to like completely new realizations by the end of it. Like I had a session yesterday and we were talking about someone's business and where they're at now. And I was like, I just don't, and it's a generator. And you'll know as a generator, like when you're into something, your energy's moving and like you can see it and you're excited. And this wasn't happening. So by the end of the session, it was like, she didn't want to do that with her business. She wanted to do something wildly different. And so I don't know, I love that. I love opening up new possibilities. So yeah, those are the types of one-off sessions that I do with people. And then I have longer term journeys where we dive even deeper into it to create change. But first step, get your chart. And then there are so many amazing people on Instagram as well, where if you just want to understand your energy type more, like I have loads of content on my page where like you can get to know your energy type more. If that's
I like
the
the
first thing
mantras that you do as well.
Oh, yeah.
For the energy type, it's like following the mantras and then remembering that, because something to mention, as with everything, these things will take a while or can take a while, I should say, to implement. And it's trusting that by following these changes or following these new ways of doing things, that it will generate the results that you desire. Because I know with me, and I think we were saying this before we started recording, is that creature of habit, routines. And I know for me, when I was looking to implement some of the strategies within my human design, is I do it for a week and then almost forget and then revert back to doing things the way that I had been before. So one of the elements of mine is sort of waiting to respond, and actually the power in waiting to respond. And I mean, I've listened to lots of podcasts about human design, and they always say, it's not sitting on the sofa doing nothing and expecting clients to turn up at your door. But for me, the way that I interpreted it was, yes, I can create content on Instagram. Yes, I can post stories. Yes, I can put up links to work with me, but I don't need to be DMing people left, right, and center. It's like I can respond when people reply to my story. That's an invitation for me to then message them. Or if people comment on my post, that might be an invitation to respond to them. So it's little tweaks like that that can really make you understand, oh yeah, actually I don't really like cold DMing people. So I can wait to respond as a result of content that I create. So it's just little shifts like that can make a really big difference, that I've seen anyway. And then if and when you get the full chart, there are so many different areas that it's broken down into, which is why it's nice to go in maybe initially with a certain area of your business or your life that you feel you would like to make a little bit of headway in or change based on your human design.
Yeah, it really does. When it comes down to those business things like DMing people, there's a reason why it feels so like to do it. It's like there's a difference. The thing I really embrace with human design is that there's a difference between something being out of your comfort zone, which is a bit scary, but you kind of know, I need to do this is going to expand me, versus like it feeling wrong. And I felt that about cold DMing people, which I did probably like, I don't know, a year ago or something, when maybe longer ago actually, when I went to a masterclass and someone told me that you needed to do that. So I tried it and I was like
10 people per day, and you're like, no.
I hated it. And there's a difference between that, and I think there's a reason why people find that so gross. Like people find themselves doing it gross and like icky, and everybody who reflects on it, they're like, I can't believe I did that. But sometimes you need to do that stuff to really like feel the difference between how it feels when you do that versus how it feels when you respond. But yeah, it's interesting because there's only one energy type who's supposed to initiate, and that's manifestors. But a lot of us are raised like manifestors in business. We're taught to go after what you want. If you don't go after it, nothing's going to come to you. And actually, would it be useful for me to go into the 5 energy types just really briefly?
Of course. Yeah, go for it.
Listening. So generators are energy beings. They are here to do what they love. And when they do what they love, they spread good energy in the world. That is their purpose, essentially. Doesn't matter what job you do, it's just got to really excite you and light you up. And then you've got manifesting generators who share some of that, like sacral lit up energy, but they are multi-passionate. They are supposed to be doing all the things that light them up. As long as they all do, like create that like positive feeling within them, then they're here to do it all. And they have to work through the conditioning of being too much and allowing themselves to be expansive. And generators have to work through the conditioning of the shoulds and the people pleasing. And then projectors, they are really here to guide and see. They are what's known as a non-energy being. So they do need to do less and actually be more. They're really here. It's not about how much they do. It's really their value is in what they see and how they guide and make things more efficient. And then manifestors, they are here to initiate. And they're also a non-energy being though. they're not here to initiate all day long. They're meant to follow their internal urges. They are really like visionaries. They're here to start things, initiate. So they are the only type who technically can be like DMing someone if they get that urge to do it, but they don't have to. It's around the urges that they get. And then reflectors, they are the rarest type. They are completely open in their chart, and they are really like great healers because they have this potential to really feel the other. But they also need to learn to take their time. They are not here to be rushed. They're not here to understand exactly where their life is going. They're here to be surprised. So that might just be useful in case anybody's listening and they're like, what the hell is a manifestor? What the hell is a generator?
Yeah. You can pause it, look at your chart, and then rewind and then see which one you are.
Yeah.
But one of the words that comes up, which I guess I had realized that maybe it just landed more so now, is it really has so much to do with energy. And energy is one of the things that I talk about a lot in my business, you know, using your energy as a way of creating soulful strategies that help you thrive. As you said at the beginning, you know, human design is there to help you thrive. And it's leaning into your energy, moving away from the rational thinking mind of how things should be done or what you think you have to do or the need to do certain things, and actually sinking into your body more of what feels good, what am I called to do, what's my energy saying, and incorporating much more of that into business. That's how I interpret it anyway. I don't know whether you agree or disagree, but
no, I do. I think it all comes down to how you use your energy and how people perceive your energy, how they feel it. Because when you're on someone's Instagram, let's say, like I feel your energy and your passion for your business because I can feel it's genuine. Like you're showing up in the way you like to show up. Whereas sometimes, you know, you can, when I used to show up on my business, when like I was doing all of other people's stuff, I hated it. I felt so much resistance and nobody was liking what I was doing. And people feel that when you're working against your energy versus when you're working with it. And I feel like it's such a powerful shift, and you just feel it from people when you know that they are doing things the way they want to do them. And you just know that like, oh, that person's like in there. I've actually got goosebumps now I'm saying that, because it's like,
I know,
like,
same.
oh,
I'm like,
I want to know what this person's doing. Like I want to be in her energy. And a lot of people, they choose to work with you because of your energy, not because you've done this
100%.
certification and this and that. They do it because they're like, oh, okay, I want a piece of that. Like I want to be in her space or his space. And I feel like that's a big part of it. It really is about energy and paying attention to how you're using it and how it feels. Like, do you feel good when you're doing something, or does it feel forced? I think that's a big thing to be checking in with yourself, with the way you're showing up, with the way you're doing content, with the way you're selling. It's different, like we said, it's different between scary but then actually forced. Like I don't want to do this is wrong for me.
Because it might feel scary because it's different to how you've always done something, but actually that will then soon shift to confidence, empowerment, feeling so aligned, because you're like, oh my god, this is me. Like this is me now, not what I think I should be doing based on that other coach who has had a successful launch. Okay, so before we wrap up, I'd love for you to share any key lesson or learning or insight from your business journey so far that might be helpful to share with any listeners. It can be linked to human design, to embracing and opening up to more freedom, or anything that you think might be useful to share.
Okay, so I think like a big lesson I've learned is that like copying other people's strategy for success is not going to bring you the success that they have. It may do, maybe you have very similar ways of moving through life and achieving that, but I feel like it's very tempting to look at someone else and be like, oh wow, they're really thriving, I'm going to do that. And I feel like a big lesson I've learned is that works for them because that's their magic. Like that is their special stuff that they're doing, and that's amazing. Another lesson I've learned is, especially if you're getting stuck in comparison, which I definitely felt last year, my friend taught me this phrase, which is just like, good for her, not for me. It's like if I ever see someone thriving and it makes me feel a bit like, I'll just be like, good for her, not for me. And I'm like, that just really helps if I ever feel that. I feel like another lesson is that it's never just money. Like it's time, it's energy. So if you're gonna say yes to something, I really do urge people to like really ensure you're entering it correctly, because if you're just doing it for the money, I just feel like there's something, it's not just that let's say someone's going to pay you a huge chunk to work with you, but do you feel good about working with them? Because you're going to be working with them now for the next 3 months, and that's time, that's energy, that's potential, you know, frustration or anger or bitterness or disappointment. And I feel like making money is amazing, and there's so much talk about it on Instagram right at the moment around like, you know, 10k months and all this stuff, which is amazing if that's something that you're really drawn towards, and there's no shame in that. But if you're going to do that, then do it in a way that feels good for you as well, and isn't just saying yes to everything. And also saying no is a big lesson that I've learned.
I was going to say, don't be afraid to say no, because actually the feeling of saying no is so empowering. And it's like opening up that space for someone who's going to be so much more aligned, that you're going to look back and be like, I knew that no was the right answer, even if at the time it felt a little bit scary because it was a big opportunity or it was a lot of money. But it will always work out, I think.
It will always work out the way it's supposed to, especially if you follow your strategy and authority, and like take the time you need. If you're someone who needs to take time making a decision, if your strategy is like, let's say, emotional and you need to take time, trust that if something's not there at the end of your process, then it's just not for you. Like, don't fret it. If someone isn't, you know, if they're like, oh, actually it's not available anymore, cool, then it wasn't meant for you. And one other lesson I've learned is that when you're expanding into like your next level, I feel like the fear and doubt can get even louder, and I don't feel like that's a sign to stop. I'm like, that's a sign that you're onto something there, and it's scary because you're leaving your comfort zone. And so don't take that as a sign to stop. Take that as a sign to be like, okay, cool, what's coming up for me right now? How can I explore this? How can I just lean into the fear? Don't let it stop you, let it fuel you. And that's something that I've learned a lot this year.
That's a really, really good one to end on, because it's that second guessing, and you're like, no, I'm trusting, I'm showing up as me, I'm looking after my energy, I'm following what feels good, and I'm ready for that expansion. And with that next level will come discomfort, but it also comes with excitement, opportunities, and just so much goodness when it's done in the right way. So thank you so much, Sophie. It's been an absolute joy having you on the podcast. I'll leave all your links below, but do you want to let people know where they can find you, and what your Instagram handle is?
Sure, thank you. I've really enjoyed this, and I really love the way that you show up online. I feel like you really do embody your energy, so I love to see that, and I've really enjoyed this chat. So you can find me on Instagram at Sophie Louise Coaching, and I share lots about human design on there because I'm quite obsessed with it. So you can follow me on there or check out my content and ways to work with me.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much again, and thank you everyone for tuning in. I will speak to you all on the next episode. Bye.